They say sometimes you never forget the first times in your life. Let's say first kiss, first time you went to school, first time you meet a friend, first time you went to a friend's house. You never really forget that stuff, or sometimes maybe you do. But one thing for sure, a first that's always been in my life that even to this day I still explore, it's Resident Evil 2, the gameplay that you're seeing right now. I played this game when I was a kid. I remember I was scared as hell watching my cousin play it. I think he got it the week it came out, or I think either 1998, 1999. And it was just crazy to see like a game where you're barely fighting to survive. Like, I never played anything like it. I got used to stuff like Mario, Crash Bandicoot, where it's fun, awesome music. And then when you completely flip the script, now it's like something creepy. You know, even at that time, I'm pretty sure I couldn't read the stuff that's going on right now on the screen. But the music, I remember, was awesome. The game was dark. I couldn't beat it. I didn't beat it until maybe a couple years afterwards, because, you know, as a kid, you kind of get impatient. You don't want to beat it, or you just don't take the time to do so, you know. And it was aggravating, I remember, and I was like, oh, I want to beat this game already, but I just couldn't, just because the fact that it was a game not like Mario or Crash Bandicoot, where the solutions were just easy. Go from one place to the other. Here you had to go from one place to the other, and sometimes back. Sometimes you missed something. Sometimes you had no access to a certain area that you wanted to go into. You had to find something that would unlock it somewhere else. And this game, it's so hard to like put it into words how much something like this meant to me, because it feels like you're just describing how you were at the time, I guess. I don't know if it's more nostalgia or more just because I had fun playing it as a kid. And then looking back thinking, man, I thought this game was scary. It wasn't too bad, I guess you could say. But playing it as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I can see why I had a hard time playing this game. It's a lot of stuff when it comes to ammo conservation. Make sure you didn't get bitten all the time. Wondering if, like, hey, what's in the next room? Because when you open the door, it's always a slow little creep going in. Then the music will play, and you're like, whoa, you know, am I going to survive this room? Is there something around the corner? Especially when the camera angles were fixed a certain way, where let's just say this is your first time playing this game. You think, oh, what's down the hall? You can't see what's over there until you get to that area, you know? So this game is very iconic in itself, and it meant a lot to me as a kid. And let's go over some of the stuff you had to run into. Obviously, your typical zombie. It's in every Resident Evil game. I wouldn't say maybe every one of them, because, you know, 0, 1, 2, 3, not 4. They're more mind controlled. 5 was also like another plaga virus, you could say. 6, maybe you kind of get away with it in Leon's campaign. 7 was more of mold. 8, which is village, didn't really have zombies, I guess. Well, maybe, I guess you want to count the catacombs, but zombies were basically a staple in Resident Evil games. Kind of sucks they kind of evolved over time, where it's like the grunt of the series not being a zombie turned into like a mind controlled person or whatever, starting from I think 4. But the zombie, yeah, iconic monster in Resident Evil. Who can't forget it? This one's funny in particular just for the fact that's a Resident Evil 1 zombie. But zombie's a zombie. When you see one crawling towards you, running towards you, no, running, mostly that's Resident Evil 1, walking towards you, you never forget it. And just putting in bullets and them not going down on the third or fourth bullet would scare you, because in this game you didn't really get much ammo. So that was kind of, you know, a thing you're like, oh, as a kid you're thinking, oh, well, you know, I can't do anything. You know, Crash Bandicoot, you pass the stage, you're done. You miss a fruit, you miss a box, whatever, you can still pass the stage. In this game, you lose all your ammo, kind of done right there on the spot. So zombies for sure, one of the most iconic ones. Another one you would run into would be the Licker. The Licker, if I remember correctly, was a zombie where they had its I think the T virus is directly into its skin or to its brain, so it would just lose all of its skin. The brain would show, obviously. Licker, long ass tongue. It was always creepy. The noise it would make, the ha ha, you would hear it in the background. They can't see. I didn't know that as a kid. I would just run through it, but apparently they couldn't see that well. So if you just walked really slow, they wouldn't do anything. Funny how as a kid, if I read a lot of some of those journals, I think the journal said that they couldn't see you. I know in the new one it had that, but I don't know in the old one. But I would have just saved a lot of ammo, knowing for the fact that these guys wouldn't do anything unless you got in front of their face or started making a lot of noise. But that's one of the tougher enemies you would face in the game. In the beginning, close to the beginning, you would say. Another one was an alligator. I remember this is probably the funniest like boss you would fight, because when I figured out how to beat the game, I never really got to the alligator as a kid. So as a kid, I probably would have been aggravated and just kept wasting ammo into it, just shooting it until it would die. When you fight him, you would just back up. There's like a gas container nearby, and you would just press it. It would fall down. The alligator would just chew on it, and you just shoot it once, and the head would blow off. But in the remake, they made it a lot scarier, where he was very fast. You had to run away from it, and then it was kind of similar where it bit into like a pipe and you just blow it up. But in the original, it was just scarier because the fact that there was no room to move and you didn't know what to do. Obviously, thank God as a kid I didn't face it. I'm pretty sure I would have died like many times. I would have probably just been mad at that point. But alligator was another thing you had to face. It was just one. It wasn't that bad. But when you get to it, when it's your first time playing it, you don't know what you're doing. It's a big deal. But the more you play, you're like, eat the thing, shoot it, done. Another one was the giant spider. Another funny thing, obviously this spider that's being shown right now, it's from Resident Evil 3, but in part 2 they showed up a lot in the sewers. I think eventually, unless I'm thinking the part 3, they got replaced with like the drain demos or whatever they're called. But in part 2, these guys were annoying for the fact that if you got poisoned and you couldn't find a blue herb, you were kind of screwed. Or if you were poisoned, if they poisoned you and you couldn't find a blue herb, you were kind of screwed. When you were poisoned, your health would little by little go down, but you would never die. So you could get to the point where you're in danger, where you're one hit away, and sometimes you wouldn't know unless you got smart enough where Leon and Claire, they would show how damaged they were. So if they started like walking really slow, they're probably in danger. If they would hold their stomach or their chest, they were in caution. And if they were like just running normal, like Haki is right now, it was normal health, you could take about 3 hits and you'd be fine. But when these spiders poison you, it made it kind of hard, like, oh, what state was I in? Am I going to be good? If I get hit, am I going to go down, etc. And on top of that, blue herbs were just annoying. They were just annoying to find. But when you did find the blue herbs, I always combined it with the red and green. You get yourself the big brown, basically looks like weed instead of a weed that's ready to be blown in a blunt. So it's pretty funny. Another enemy you would run into would be the Plant 43. Plant 42 being the one from Resident Evil 1. Plant 43 was, if I remember correctly, you don't really run into him that much. I remember all the times that I did run into him, it would be because it's an area where you have to access, I think, an extra item for Leon and Claire. But anytime I did, I kind of just avoided them anyways. I think if I remember correctly, these guys can also poison you as well, but I never really let them poison me. I would just run by. I'm like, I'm not wasting ammo. Leave it alone. But these guys were really, at the time as a kid, well, when I started figuring the game out more, as I would say maybe as a teenager, these guys were actually pretty scary. And after a time, it's like, you know what? I think I'll just avoid them. Another one, I think this was just a one of, and that's only if you get into the room, the computer room, where you have to, I think, put your name for Claire to get her weapon or her extra pouch in the other room. This guy didn't really do anything. You can honestly just shoot him once, I think, for the flamethrower, or not flamethrower, the fire grenade launcher, and it would just be done. The annoying part was, I think, I don't know if it was this one or Code Veronica, where the babies would latch onto you and they would do damage. But other than that, this guy wasn't too bad. He kind of honestly just laid there and just took all the shots you gave out. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, at the time, he was pretty creepy. The time that I at least was able to figure out the game and play it. These guys, oh man. So you thought the lickers were bad. They crawl around. They can, they're on the ceiling. They're fast. Modified lickers, they were a lot faster. They had bigger talons, and they would run at you. Like, they can stand up on their hind legs and run. Not like a human where it's like, they could get up and run, where it's like they look like they struggle to stand up, but they would run the whole time and then leap at you. And these guys were crazy because you needed the stronger shotgun to get rid of them a lot faster. If I remember correctly, the regular licker only took 2 shots of the shotgun. These guys would take 4 or 5, but if you had the upgraded shotgun, it would only take 3. But these guys were very dangerous, and every time I saw one, if I knew I could get away with it, I'll go to the other room. Not worry about it. Wasn't too bad. A boss that's only technically, if I remember correctly, canon in Claire's is the Tyrant, Mr. X, or Tyrant 1. I'm not sure if it was this official name or not, but the Mr. X was the one that hunted Sherry around when she had like I think a vial of G-Virus in her necklace. and it was meant to only go after her, so you would have to protect her from him, or it, I guess you could say. And this guy was kind of creepy too. The music was good. His walk was really slow. In the remake, he's a lot faster, or he felt a lot faster. And I think if you made him mad, he would run at you, or run a power walk, I guess you could say. But I know for a fact this guy for sure was creepy when you saw him for the first time, because I remember finally running into this guy, and I'm like, whoa, who the hell is this guy? And you know, at the time, internet was still up. I could probably look it up, but I never really did. I know for a fact, as a kid though, before I beat this game, I would look up cheats, and I could never find any. The only cheats that you could do was after you beat the game, and obviously I never beat the game as a kid, so those are really helping me out that much. But yeah, this guy was basically a pursuer. He is superseded or succeeded by Nemesis in Part 3, which is a game I recently beat. But this guy was nothing to mess with. He was basically a sponge. When you hit him enough, he would go down and you could just walk around. I think he would always come back, if I remember correctly. And last but not least, one of the main antagonists, or is the main antagonist, is William Birkin. You would run into him in the beginning where he only had his eye on his chest and a pipe. He would beat the shit out of you with a pipe, and I remember that shit was creepy. In the remake, they did a good job on his arena. For him, I know for a fact that he was easy to deal with in the beginning, because you just had to mow him down and he'd leave you alone. When you run into him again, you could tell he would morph. He would get another head. His head would recede to his chest, and he would just look all types of messed up. And by the end of the game, he's like the most transformed monster, where it doesn't even look like him anymore. He looks like a big blob with teeth in the middle. But yeah, all I can say is Resident Evil 2 was for sure one of the best things in my life. I could say that probably. Obviously, there's other stuff, coming from someone my age, you would think there's other stuff, but no, Resident Evil 2 stayed with me forever. William Birkin is for sure one of those iconic monsters in a game where you run into him over and over again, and he always had a new phase. But yeah, Resident Evil 2, if anyone that's interested in Resident Evil, I would suggest Resident Evil 2 for the PS1. It was awesome. The remake was also good too, but it felt like some of the content was cut out. If they followed exactly T to T what they did the original, probably would have been a lot better. Maybe change things here and there, which they did, but it felt like a lot of the stuff was cut out, and I was kind of disappointed. Was it still a good game? Yeah. Do I prefer the PS1 version? Duh, of course. The music's also iconic. Who would forget that? But so thanks for watching this video. I hope this worked out for you. Hope you liked it. Expect more video essays, I guess. This is more of my deep dive into a game, trying to figure out what's my style, what type of things I want to try, little edits here and there. This took a while just for the fact that I've never really made a video, unless you want to look at my older stuff where I had like a crappy camera with a mic. I have a better mic. I have a better computer. But don't forget to sub. If you have any suggestions, or if you want to say anything in the comments, you liked it, you disliked it, just let me know. If you guys want any more content like this, obviously leave a comment down below. Let me know how I did. And you guys have a good one. Don't forget to stay evil. Later, guys.